Hi, I'm Dan from DC Lane. I'm going to give you a short overview of the changes coming in the Renters' Rights Act 2025. If you want to get the full details, you can go to our website, dclane.co.uk/landlords. Loads of information on there. So the Act itself then is starting in two phases. The first phase starts on the 1st of May 2026. And probably the most important thing is the abolition of the Section 21 notice. So we will no longer be able to ask the tenant to leave for no reason at all. However, there are added grounds in Section 8, which means that you can ask the tenant to leave if you want to sell the property or if you want to move back in yourself. And there's a couple of other grounds that have been added around antisocial behaviour. So what this means is that we've actually got an end to the old assured short-hold tenancy agreements, and they will become assured tenancies on a periodic basis. So effectively, all the tenancies that we have in place now, the tenants will be able to give 2 months' notice for a rent due date, and you will only be able to ask the tenant to leave for one of those particular reasons using a ground. For instance, if you want to sell the property or if you want to move back in. You can, however, review your rent on an annual basis. You can ask for market rent, but if the tenant doesn't agree with that, then they can take it to the first tier tribunal, who will then determine a market rent, and the increase will happen on their determination date rather than your notice date. So for all of our landlords, we're making sure the rents are exactly what everybody wants beforehand, because we want to avoid any delays as the system gears up. Tenants will be able to request pets in the property, and there are a few excuses to reasons why you can say no. But if you do agree to have a pet, that is now going to be an irrevocable decision. So there are some other changes around the way in which we can behave with tenants. The first one is around discrimination. So now, if you were to not allow a viewing or refuse to grant a tenancy to somebody on the basis that they had children or that they received benefits, that would be considered discrimination. So we have a selection process that's actually already compliant with this. So if there are any questions around how we make sure we get the correct tenants for your property, just give the office a call and we'll talk you through that process. Now, when there were popular properties, we used to be able to accept rents that were above the asking price. That's been banned. So now the maximum rent we can ask for is in fact the asking price of the property. And you can't require your tenant to pay rent in advance. So some of our landlords have been concerned about what will happen now if tenants are sort of causing a nuisance to their neighbours and how we can control that. But actually some of the grounds that have been added are around antisocial behaviour. Significant antisocial behaviour is pretty straightforward, but when it's just complaints from neighbours, what we need to do is we need to build a case. We can eventually, if it gets serious enough, ask the judge to look at it for us. So that's where having great notes and having a managed service will be really, really useful. That's pretty much the main changes in phase 1. In phase 2, you've got the renters database, so all landlords will have to be a member of that. We don't expect that to be in until later 2026. And you've also got the rented ombudsman. He'll be quite powerful, and tenants will be able to complain about landlords' actions and behaviours to him, and they will be able to do things like put rent repayment orders in place. The timescale is expected to be 2028. And then around sort of housing quality, the decent home standards will be coming in. So it's building on the current health and safety legislation. That'll be around quality of housing and fit for human habitation. And I'm sure you've all heard of Awaab's law. We're expecting all of this to be implemented in the private rental sector in around about 2027. So that's pretty much all the changes coming. It is a lot of them. I'll give you a note from us. We're actually very positive. In the majority of cases, actually the reasons why you'd want to ask a tenant to leave are ones that are still catered for in the new Act. And in terms of the way in which we deal with tenants, I think it does mean that it's very important to be fair. It's very important to keep really good notes of what's happened so that if there are any disputes, you do have a defence. Overall, though, we're happy, we're ready, and we're getting ourselves set up to make sure that we can deal with the changes for our clients. So thanks very much for listening. If you want more information, just go to the website, dclane.co.uk, and then go to the landlord section. It'll all be there for you. I've been Dan. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.